Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and today we're taking a look at the first releases in the brand new DC Finest collection. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups, and like I said, we're going to be taking a look at the very first releases of the brand new DC Finest trade paperback collection. What is the DC Finest trade paperback collection? This is a very comprehensive collection of pretty much the entirety of DC continuity. This is amazing, right? So we start off with Superman and Batman. I believe they're in stores right now. Wonder Woman's coming up soon. Flash, Justice League of America, and other titles, other characters, other fan favorites, and even some lesser known characters that are going to be just absolutely fantastic to see collected in full for the first time. So what this aims to do is to collect pretty much the entirety of DC's catalog from the beginnings in 1938 with the arrival of Superman all the way up until 2011. Of course, 2011 is when the New 52 started, so they could even do an eventual DC New 52 Finest trade paperback collection or something like that, right? But this is fantastic. So major thanks to our friends over at DC Comics who sent us these early copies to take a look at and to do a video about, and I'm so thankful for that opportunity because these books are amazing. They were already on my radar because as a fanboy of comics, as a fanboy of DC, I've always wanted to have every single issue of Superman, every single issue of Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Doom Patrol, things like that, right? Well, now that dream is coming to fruition, right? So it all kicks off with Superman. This is the Golden Age stuff, but then what they're doing is in each release, because they don't have volume numbers, they just have the year. Right? So this Batman is 86 and 87. This is post-crisis Batman. This is the beginning of the Gail Simone Wonder Woman run. This is the beginning of Barry Allen's Flash run, the Silver Age stuff. And this is the first time the Justice League of America comes across the Justice Society of America. This is a really cool start to the collection because you get a taste of each era and you get to hit all of the major characters. Superman, the world's first superhero, it says it right there. Batman Year 1 and Year 2, Wonder Woman, Origins and Omens, The Flash, The Human Thunderbolt, and Justice League of America, The Bridge Between Earths. A lot of this stuff has been collected before, but it's been collected in different places. Like Year 1, Year 2, they've been collected, but this collects all the books surrounding it. We're going to break into each and every single one of these, but first of all and foremost, I just want to say, holy cow, these are amazing. Each of them retails for about $39.99 US dollars. They contain almost, if not more than 600 pages each volume on great stock with decent reproductions of the art and the colors. Of course, you know me, I like the newsprint stuff, so I wish these colors felt more soaked in, but it works. It looks really good. I would find it comparable to the way that these books, say, looked in the DC Archives collection, right? This is really cool, fun stuff. And when this collection eventually is complete, you'll have 1938 to 2011 of whatever hero you want, whoever you follow, whoever is your favorite, or if you're a nut like me, maybe every single one of them, and then we can achieve that lifelong dream of reading every DC comic in chronological order. Let's dive into the collections. First up, we got Superman, the First Superhero. This is basically what you could consider Volume 1 if you wanted to. Absolutely amazing package, great spine, great cover, and great information on the back cover, you know, presenting DC's finest stories, which is all of them, which I hope to see this collection completed. Champion of the Oppressed, this was going to collect Action Comics 1 through 25, Superman 1 through 5, and New York World's Fair Comics #1. This is awesome. This is the very beginning of Superman, right? The very origins, and it has a table of contents right there. This is all, of course, the Jerry Siegel, Joe Shuster stuff. And I've read bits and pieces of these because I used to have the Action Comics and the Superman archive editions, but I didn't continue that collection because those were a bit pricey, but they were worth it. but they were a little bit out of my price range at the time. This is very affordable. So you get the very first Superman story in here. You get the introduction of Lois Lane. You get the Daily, I think it was the Daily Star at first. You get Jimmy Olsen. You get Lex Luthor. You get Ultra Humanite. You get a bunch of just cool Golden Age stories that the historical significance of this book cannot be overstated at all, right? And a lot of us need to appreciate some of these older comics and where this industry came from, where the idea of the superhero first started really developing, how it became mythology. And that's what you're going to see. Like, if you had this complete DC Finest Superman run, let's say they go from 1938 to 2011, you get to see the evolution, not just of comics, not just of fandom, but the evolution of superheroes, right? And what I love about old comics, there's Lex right there, I think. What I love about old comics is that they are a snapshot of their time. So you read a comic book from 1938 or 1939 or 1940, and you're going to see references from that time period. You're going to hear dialogue, slang terms, things like that, just the style of entertainment. Oh, look, it even has this nice little bit right there. That's cool. Really great stuff. It's so cool to see the Superman books in an affordable package where it's going to be pretty much completed all the way through. You know, a lot of people will look at these old books and they may kind of like roll their eyes, but this is where this industry started. This is the history of this industry, and this is the kind of stuff I love, and I love to have access to it. And DC's doing a great job with this collection of giving us access, and also putting it in a chronological order. You don't have to go online and try to find a reading order or anything like that. It's all just laid out there perfectly fine for you. Super freaking awesome. The Superman one, this is history right there. This one volume alone is worth it for that. And the cool thing about this collection is there are no numbers. There are no volume numbers. And I know that may irk some people, but if all you wanted was the first 3 years of Superman, here you go. You got it right here. You don't need to get anything else. If you just want to see where this started, you're all good to go right there. What's next? Next up is Batman Year 1 and 2. When I first saw this, in my head, for some reason, I just thought that this would be an Ultra edition of Year 1 and Year 2, but I was wrong because this is such a complete collection. This is, in fact, all of the Batman stuff from 86 and 87, as it shows you right there on the back. And I love this little cool graphic right there. I think Omar mentioned that in his video. So this collects Batman 401 through 412, Batman Annual number 11, and Detective Comics 568 through 579. You got the Mike W. Barr stuff. You got Alan Davis. You got Todd McFarlane. You got Frank Miller, David Mazzucchelli. You have Year 1 in here. You have Year 2 in here. But the glorious thing is you have everything else. Everything else. Because like it says, it starts with 401. This is the collecting the post-crisis DC Batman stuff in chronological order as it was published. So you get this Magpie story. You get all the stories that lead up until we get into Year 1. So that's freaking cool because Batman Year 1, it's been collected. There's my copy right there, right? Batman Year 2, it's been collected. There's my copy right there. These are two books that should always be in print, right? They're perennial favorites, especially for DC fans, especially for Batman fans, right? But this just has Year 1. This just has Year 2, and this also has the full circle thing. But this collects everything around it. Now, some of this stuff around Year 1 and Year 2 has been collected, but I don't think it's ever been collected together in a chronological order. That makes this one of the coolest, most unique Batman collections out there. And I love that with Superman, they started at the beginning. With Batman, they're starting post-crisis, and I think that's a great place to start with Batman because this is the moment where Batman comics were changing comics. Batman Year 1, for instance, Frank Miller, and it's in here. And the cool thing about Year 1, and there it is it's the original colors. You know, in most of the trades now, you're going to get the newer colors. And I love the new colors on Batman Year 1. But here you get the old colors, right? It's cool to look and compare them together. There's in the Absolute Edition, they actually do this. they have both, but they put this on newsprint and it just works so well. But this is a really cool thing that they did, was to put the original comic book colors on there. It gives it more of that 80s feel. It makes it feel more of its time. And Batman Year One is a book that is a classic, and it feels contemporary every time I read it, especially in this version of the trade, and there's tons more versions out there. But to see it in the context of those original colors with all the books that surrounded it, it gives you the history. It gives you the history of not just this character, but this industry and the evolution of it, right? And you get a lot of cool Alan Davis stuff here. Really great, interesting stuff. A lot of this stuff I haven't read because it's always been difficult for me to find. Look, Jason Todd, when they retell his origins after he steals the wheels off the Batmobile or something like that. Really fun stuff, and it's all there so you can read this in the way it was released, the way it was experienced by everybody who was there. I didn't start reading Batman comics until right before the Nightfall era, so this is a lot of stuff that I wasn't super familiar with. Of course, Batman Year One, even Year Two, you see a lot of that stuff nowadays. There's Year Two right there. So it's going to be cool to read through this and then notice, like, what took place in these comics before they did Year Two, right? Look at that. Great stuff. Early McFarlane on Batman. Really great stuff. Look at that. Look at that. This was the collection out of this first wave that I was absolutely the most excited for. Absolutely the most excited for. They did not let me down. They actually exceeded my expectations there. That one is going to be a favorite. If you want to read post-crisis Batman and see how Year One and Year Two came about in publication history, this is the book for you. And it's, once again, just a great book to read. And you can just own this. 2 years of Batman's history post-crisis, when he really kind of revitalized the comic book industry. What's next? And here we have Wonder Woman Origins and Omens. So this collects some of the Wonder Woman stories that are sandwiched between Infinite Crisis and Flashpoint, New 52, right? So this is from 2007 to 2009. Once again, the spine looks great. They all have the exact same spine, and it's going to look really great on a shelf because of that. This collects, let's see, Wonder Woman Volume 3, 14 through 35, Outsiders 5 of a Kind, Wonder Woman Grace number 1, and The Brave and the Bold number 7. So there you go, 2007, 2008, and 2009. In particular, this is the start of the Gail Simone run on Wonder Woman, which of course is a fan favorite and always talked about as a lot of people's favorite Wonder Woman run. I didn't really get a chance to dive into this too much, right? I remember when Wonder Woman relaunched right after Infinite Crisis, the 1 year later stuff, and around that time I just kind of fell in and out of it a little bit, but I've always heard such great things about this Gail Simone run, so I'm excited to dive into it. Now, they've collected her run before, but like I said, this is a complete chronological collection, so it even starts with books that are not part of that Gail Simone run, right? It starts with this Wonder Woman Grace crossover thing, right? Because it's the characters it's the stories that are important to the characters at the time. I love that they put in this Brave and the Bold. This Brave and the Bold series, by the way, with George Perez artwork, was absolutely amazing. So there's a team up with her and Power Girl. And then we get right into the start of the Wonder Woman run by Gail Simone, which is The Circle, and War Killer, I think, is the other one. This has artwork from Terry Dotson and Rachel Dotson. This has got Aaron Lopresti stuff as well. This is really freaking cool. And what I love is it's not just Wonder Woman, Gail Simone Volume 1. It's Wonder Woman from these years, right? Collecting some really cool stories. If you are not familiar with Wonder Woman, this is a great place to jump in. So even though technically this may be volume, who knows what, 27 or something like that of this entire collection for Wonder Woman, this is one complete edition to give you a good chunk of chronological Wonder Woman history with some of her strongest creators attached to her. I am so freaking excited for this. There's so many eras of Wonder Woman to explore, and I would love to see the John Byrne stuff. I would love to see the Denny O'Neil stuff from back in the day. The original stuff. I haven't read much of that original Golden Age Wonder Woman, so it's going to be really cool to see these collections as they go, as they complete. But this really focuses in on Wonder Woman as a character, how she's got this dichotomy inside of her. She's a warrior, right? But at the same time, she's an ambassador for peace. And so what I've heard is that this Gail Simone run does a really great job of kind of striking that balance and showing the not conflict, but just the way that impacts Diana as a character and her journey. Really cool stuff. I love that they did it this way. I love that they started Wonder Woman here because you're spreading it out. Batman in the 80s, Superman in the 30s, Wonder Woman in the aughts. This is really cool, solid stuff, and they're collecting things that are not just Gail Simone. They're collecting things that are relevant to the story, to the legacy, to the spirit, and to the characters. Really, such a fantastic book, and I'm super excited to dive further into this Wonder Woman one. Next up, we got Justice League of America, The Bridge Between Earths, with work from Gardner Fox, Sid Green, Bernard Sachs, and others. There's that spine. Once again, beautiful, and I love how they all work together. This is going to collect Justice League of America 45 through 72. So the stuff from 1966 to 1969. That means you can check out what was going on in the pages of Justice League while Batman, the classic Adam West series, was debuting and airing, right? So let's check it out. It's not the very beginning of Justice League. As you can see, there's a few years before, so this might be like a, I don't know, volume 3 or something, but this collects, in chronological order, all of those books. And in particular, in this era is when, not when the multiverse was necessarily first thought of, but when it was really kind of being utilized in interesting ways with the JSA and the JLA combining forces, coming to battles against each other, teaming up against other existential threats to the multiverse. So as much as the multiverse means to DC and its history and legacy, it's really cool that this is one of the first collections to focus in on Spotlight where that idea started being more fully developed. And it's in the pages of Justice League of America with the introduction of the Justice Society of America, or should I say the reintroduction of the Justice Society. So I had DC Chronicles, I think, Justice League Volume 1, and it was such a hoot. It's so much fun to read those stories. This is Silver Age stuff. Justice League was a very popular book during this time, a great team book, putting all these great DC characters together. I remember being a kid, when I was a teenager, the Grant Morrison run of JLA was just starting, and I remember wanting to get that book because I couldn't afford Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and Aquaman and Flash and Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter, but I could get them all in that one book. So that's cool. And then you add in the JSA. I haven't really read too many of these early JSA and JLA crossovers, so this is a great opportunity to check that out. And even though this isn't, say, the first volume in the beginnings of the Justice League, that is a collection that will be got to, but this is kind of like a nice complete collection of itself to start seeing the era of DC where they started, like I said, developing the multiverse as not just an idea to like make stories fit, but as an actual device to use to propel stories forward and actually elevate your stories and widen the scale and the scope. So this is really sharp that they started Justice League here. You don't have to start all these at the beginning. That would be neat, but then it would just be a bunch of Golden Age stuff. Here you get to see the breadth of DC history all together amongst all 5 of these collections, and I'm sure even the ones to come, because I'm fairly certain that the Aquaman one is going to be the Silver Age stuff, so that's going to be freaking cool. That's awesome and exciting, but what's next? And next up is the Flash, The Human Thunderbolt. Carmine Infantino, Gardner Fox. This is the very beginning of Barry Allen the Flash. So important because this first appearance of Barry Allen, a lot of us consider this the debut of the Silver Age in the comic book industry. right? This is super historical. All of these books are. We're seeing the breadth of DC, right? And I love how they're each different eras being focused in and spotlighted with each of these different releases. Now, this is the very first Barry Allen stuff. This is from 1956 to 1961. A time in the comic book industry where ideas were being reimagined and revitalized and repurposed, and it set the world ablaze. From DC and even other companies. But Barry Allen kicked off the Silver Age, kicked off this new era of comics, of course, in Showcase number 4. And this collects Showcase number 4, 8, 13, and 14. And then the Flash, when it took over from the Jay Garrick Flash, 105 through 125. And it ends, I believe, or 123. And I believe that is the issue, yep, where Barry Allen meets Jay Garrick. And that is the start of the multiverse in DC. So that is perfectly it's a perfect companion to that previous Justice League book that we just looked at. This is fantastic stuff. John Broome, Carmine Infantino. Come on. Do you want anything more from a collection? You want to see the origin of the character. A fan favorite character like the Flash, you know? A lot of these characters are movie stars and TV stars now, and the Flash is no exception. These early Flash books are so much fun. And when I read this stuff for the first time, I was really surprised at how quickly his powers escalate. Like, he's traveling through time, vibrating through things. There's a big jump in his power set. Really cool stuff, defining that era. Amazing artwork. One of the things about reading these comics is, yeah, we get to see the history of these characters. We get to see the history of pop culture, right? As these characters develop, as these stories are told, as the writing is brought, as the writing elevates, or as the writing evolves, I should say. But you also get to see the evolution of comic book artwork. It's so cool to see the Superman Golden Age stuff, then jump into what the Flash was. You see, oh man, they started new techniques. They were doing different things with the figure. Then you move into the 80s, and you're like, wow, they're really getting innovative with the layouts and the composition with creators like Frank Miller and Alan Davis and Todd McFarlane. Then you get into the modern age. You get to see all of these ideas put together into something sophisticated, like in that Wonder Woman book. This is a great look at the Flash, of course. If you're just a Flash fan and you want to read the first few years of the Flash, here you go. And this is all you need. But they're going to do more. I sure hope they do. This is a fantastic collection, and I would love to see this just fill shelves across the country. The paper stock is great. Really cool stuff. They even have all the Flash fact bits in there. It's great reproduction. I'm just so enamored with this collection. It's so great, and it's so great to get in on the ground floor of something, right? Sometimes you go back and you're like, oh man, I'm missing this volume or this volume of that, but it's out of print, it's hard to find, it's on the aftermarket, it's expensive. But not here. This is our chance to start at the very beginning of this collection and see the beginnings of some of our favorite heroes, the evolution of DC history, and in the evolution of the comic book art form, which is amazing. I love that this ends with the meeting of Jay Garrick and Barry Allen. That's so freaking awesome. You know, then you get to see all the crisis events kind of build up in Justice League of America, where all the JSA, JLA stuff's taken on. And one of my favorite things about this set is that they're eventually going to start doing DC Finest events. I know they got a 0-hour one planned. It may be mentioned here in the back. Nope, not mentioned there in the back. Maybe it's mentioned in the Justice League one. Oh no, but we got Green Arrow. Oh, that's the Mike Grell stuff. That's awesome. Legion of Superheroes. I've always been told, you want to read Legion, read the Jim Shooter stuff. It's finally going to be collected. There's that Aquaman one. Somewhere here, they do mention, yep, there it is. DC Events 0-hour Crisis in Time Part 1. So this way, when these come out, you're going to get not just the event, but everything that ties into it. JSA, Green Lantern, Catwoman. Man, they got a whole line planned, and I am so excited to go through the timeline of DC, all the way from the beginnings through the modern ages. Really great, fun, cool stuff. These books look absolutely stunning on a shelf. The spines line up perfectly. Let's take a look right there. Look at that. Look at that. That's amazing stuff. Anyway, that's freaking cool. All right, so there you have it. Really cool books. Thank you again, DC Comics, for sending this stuff to us. I am so stoked for these books to release. Happy that they will show up in people's hands, collecting things that have never been collected before, collecting things that have been collected before in a different way. They look amazing on the shelf. They feel great in the hand. It's a great tactile experience. The reproduction of the covers and of the artwork is absolutely top-notch, and I cannot wait to have the complete DC Finest collection on my shelves. It might fill an entire house, but you know what? It's well worth it. I am so excited for future collections. I'm really pumped for that upcoming Aquaman one. I really hope to get a Martian Manhunter. That would be some wild, cool, fun stuff. But this is great. And DC, once again, thank you so much. This has been a treat, a pleasure, and an honor. So anyway, what do you think about the DC Finest collection? Let me know if you're planning on picking it up. You definitely should get in on the ground floor. And DC is really good about keeping their stuff in print, but I wouldn't hold off if I was you. These are great deals, a lot of content for a small price, honestly, thinking about the history, the legacy of these titles, these characters, what they mean to pop culture, and what they mean to us as fans. Anyway, I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Station Pop Pop Boom.